We were told families are off limits.
To Barack Obama, the son of a black man from Kenya and a white man from Kansas. Now, no matter what your politics, that is a moment for the history book.
No comment. There was a whole lot of drama going on in Minnesota during the RNC convention.
More than 280 people were arrested here in St. Paul on Monday, the opening day of the Republican National Convention. Among them were several journalists covering the protests in the streets, including 3 of us at Democracy Now! I was detained trying to question police officers about the arrests of Democracy Now! Producers Sharif Abdel-Quddus and Nicole Salazar. Nicole and Sharif were covering a police crackdown on a street protest against the Republican National Convention. Nicole's camera captured her arrest and assault by the officers.
Get out of here! Oh, where are we supposed to go? Get out of here! Jody, get down on your face! On your face! Get down on your face! On your face!
Shortly after I arrived and was arrested while questioning the officers about Sharif and Nicole's arrest.
Release the accredited journalist now!
From the convention
floor. You are violating my constitutional right. You are violating now.
Sir, I want to talk to you.
Arrest her.
Do not arrest me.
Right, sir. You are violating
right there. You're under arrest. Stay right there. Back up. Back up.
Hey guys, if you cross this line, you'll be under arrest, so don't do it.
We're going to get you out of here very soon.
Outrageous.
Yes, we have people working on it.
Has a bloody nose, and that Sergeant McKenzie said they won't put me on this assault if Nicole's not there.
Questioning the officers. The ongoing theme here is that of misplaced self-importance. Now let's do a little bit of analysis here. If I was producer of a video crew covering a protest and crew members were arrested, there's a couple of ways to handle this. I'd look around for the least stressed out police officer, tell him or her about the situation, and ask for assistance. I would not be, as Amy Goodman put it, trying to question them and going off pleading, "Do not arrest me," after you didn't back off as they ordered. During a riot situation, it just doesn't seem like the smart thing to do.
While most protesters demonstrated peacefully, some engaged in property damage, slashing car tires, throwing bottles, tipping trash bins, and breaking windows of cars and buildings. One of the broken windows came in the building that houses St. Paul Neighborhood Network, that's SPNN, where Democracy Now! Is broadcasting from this week.
Some.
But police used harsh tactics, including chemical irritants, to disperse everyone, even those protesters who remained peaceful. Officers in riot gear fired tear gas, pepper spray, rubber bullets, and a series of standoffs around the downtown St. Paul area.
Oh, those poor protesters. Tell you what, many of them should have been in the school either their parents or we are paying for. While Amy Goodman is portraying these protesters as peaceful victims, here's a local perspective.
Cindy, it didn't take long for unrest to unfold. What we covered was not part of the official march. Before that march could even start, a few groups, the Welcoming Committee and some of the anarchists, moved into downtown St. Paul, and what followed was a winding tour of the city that grew increasingly more violent. The rally began at 11 o'clock. Hooded and masked, this group of protesters promised a peaceful march.
The reason I am here is to protest peacefully, after recent protests and the cops have come in and been very aggressive, I want to prove to my community that peaceful protesters are not treated correctly.
But even before the official march could begin, a splinter group began a march of its own. Led by hooded, masked protesters dressed in black, as the march snaked through downtown St. Paul, we noticed masks being pulled up, and protesters grew more aggressive. Some of that aggression was directed at our camera.
As we're with the group as they're marching down the street, one of the people in the crowd used a can of spray paint as
The march continued to wind through downtown St. Paul. Windows were smashed, this one with a hammer. Anything on the streets or sidewalk became a target. Then a St. Paul police officer, alone in the crowd, dragged one marcher down the sidewalk when he was blindsided by a protester. The officer then discharged his pepper spray. The marchers brought supplies to treat themselves. And now watch, a protester runs in from the left, jumps on a squad car, and then runs into the crowd. After smashing a window at Macy's, protesters jumped over a nearby wall and seemingly disappeared. Well, as that group got closer to the X, police moved in, blocking off side streets. But as we said, before the confrontation could happen, they dispersed into the crowd. 100 people or so dressed in black. They were just gone. And that was the early part of the unrest today. It still continues at this hour. Live in St. Paul, Tim Chernow, 5 Eyewitness News.
Okay, now get out your tissues.
I kept demanding, I saw you across the way, Sharif. I was looking for you, Nicole. They said you were bloodied. I demanded to be able to see you. I couldn't find you. I demanded to be brought over to Sharif. I did go over to be with Sharif. They took my picture. They put the big white plaque under me with all my information, and the officer stands there with the picture. I kept demanding to see the reporters, asking why we're being arrested. They finally, when they put me into the police wagon, they said that, Nicole, you would be there. You were one of the first arrested. And that's where I saw you with your Democracy Now! Credentials hanging around your neck.
Let's close on the theme of misplaced self-importance. Should any of you in the future, in the performance of your duties, find yourself in the middle of a riot and your people are arrested, try this. Ask nicely. Say please. Do what the police say. Making demands because you believe everyone knows who you are is not going to keep you from being arrested, just because you call yourself brave, courageous, and an exception to the rulers doesn't make it so.